And there's two reasons for a no-knock. Number one, for officer safety, and number two, so the bad guys don't flush the dope before the cops get to it.
It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out, because obviously the state police can't go knocking on 200,000 doors. It's the Czechoslovakian-made Scorpion.
Thanks for tuning in to Fired Up. This is your host, Bob Irwin, coming to you from the gun store in Las Vegas. This program is all about guns, related politics, and self-defense. On this edition, the panel will discuss the Connecticut problem, as we call it, of possibly seizing illegal firearms from 200,000, 100,000 people that may have them out there, that the police may end up with that as a problem in Connecticut. To make this more clear, I want to go over a case that happened in Texas in 2006. This is an older case, but it kind of relates to what the police problem is going to be, I think. Basically, a fella, the police had a warrant for a guy. You can go ahead with it.
Well, the man is John Quinn, and he owned guns, and he had a temporary guest in his home, which was his son. His son had a very checkered past. He had some issues with drug connections. He had a drug problem himself. And the police had a warrant for his son that was staying in his home.
Yeah, and because of the circumstances of the home, drugs and guns, the cops got a no-knock search warrant. And basically what that does is let the cops go through the door without announcing, but once they get through the door, they have to say, cops, get on the floor, get on the floor. And in this particular case, that's exactly what they did because of the circumstances. And there's two reasons for a no-knock. Number one, for officer safety, and number two, so the bad guys don't flush the dope before the cops get to it.
Of course.
In this case, however, Mr. Quinn was alone. His son wasn't there. And he thought it was a home invasion. And he went for a gun, which is a reasonable action on his behalf.
Sure.
Unfortunately, with the police officers coming in, they shot him.
Well, fortunately, he survived the shooting. I guess that's the upside. He brought a lawsuit against law enforcement stating that he didn't believe they had justification to do what they did, that he was responding appropriately. Long story short, he lost the case. He didn't prevail, wasn't paid, and under the circumstances known to the officers, the court found that they acted appropriately. This is something we generally refer to as qualified immunity. If the police officer has a reasonable belief when they get the warrant, they don't fabricate any information. And the other problem with this is one officer typically gets the warrant. There might have been 10 officers going through the door. And only one of them may have known the basis for the warrant. All the rest of them knew we have a warrant. And so they acted appropriately. They were protected by qualified immunity because they made a decision based upon the circumstances before them.
Yeah. The reason we wanted to explain that, qualified immunity says officers will make mistakes, but if they're making a mistake that anyone in their position would have reasonably made, knowing what they knew, they're immune from arrest and from lawsuits, because police have to do things sometimes that most other people wouldn't do. And the reason I wanted to bring this case to light today is Connecticut and New York State very shortly are facing the same problem we have with the Connecticut assault weapon ban and magazine ban that took place on January 1st this year. We have approximately, we're guessing, 200,000 new felons who chose not to register their assault weapons or list their magazines with the state police, which now makes them a felony. So where does the Connecticut State Police now go? Do we kick in 50,000 doors in Connecticut? They've already kind of ruled out, at least in the press discussions, having another waiver and another deadline date. Well, okay, you can turn them in by, March 1st or something. They say they're not going to do that.
It seems pretty clear that the governor and the people pushing the ban have decided that it's a one chance. They're going to have an absolute drop-dead date, which passed. Yeah. They've apparently, again, according to media reports, I haven't talked to anybody who knows firsthand, but the media is reporting that several people who may have been out of the country or may just have been unaware have tried to register items after the ban, and they've gotten a letter or contacted by state police saying, sorry, you didn't do it. Your only option now is to turn it in or dispose of it.
Right. I recall reading that. A couple of people just didn't know about the deadline. They wandered in February to the state police and said, I still have this assault weapon. And they went, you're under arrest, where is it? And they're felons. I mean, they didn't arrest any of them yet. They just took their guns and made a note of who they'd get the gun from, but the gun was illegal.
It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out, because obviously the state police can't go knocking on 200,000 doors, and they're non-compliant with it. And from what I've read and everything else, it's the same thing what's going to be happening in New York. A lot of people just say, well, it's just going to go away. It's going to be an unenforceable law that eventually some court proceeding or something is going to have to overturn it because of mass non-compliance. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, like you said, New York is coming right down the pike in a couple of weeks. It's going to be going on there. And from what I've read so far, the state police isn't even turning in the amount of numbers of people who have even registered the gun. And of course, there's so much public outcry against it with the sheriffs. The Governor Cuomo's going crazy because the sheriffs are not going to choose to enforce the law. It's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks to see what's going to happen with all of this.
We did have the Connecticut State Police Association had a letter they sent to the governor signed by 250 officers who said they will simply not enforce this because it's unconstitutional. And what the reasons are, we can understand, but the problem for the police department is when you, for whatever reason, you have 250 officers saying, I'm not going to enforce it. And this thing that people tell me, the common answer I get on the radio show is, well, I'll just tell them I don't have the gun anymore, I gave it away. Phil, you ever served a narcotics warrant?
Oh, I can't tell you how many.
And when you came to the door and the guy said, oh, I don't have narcotics anymore, what did you? You went home, right?
Yeah, we
Okay,
packed up
believe
our
you.
toys and went home.
Signed the warrant and went home.
And see, here's the thing about it. You don't just get a search warrant by picking up the phone and say, Judge, I need a search warrant. You have to do some background. You have to do some investigation. How many people live in there? Are there little kids in the house? And how do you,
cause.
where is your probable cause?
Just
because
They have a registration list in Connecticut, and I've seen some probable cause warrants here locally, obviously not there, but I've seen some probable cause warrants that were not much more detailed than that, Your Honor. We have this record, we have no indication that the item has been removed, and we believe it's there. We have a confidential informant, whose name I will release if I'm ordered to by the court or, whatever, who says it's still there. And as a defense attorney, I've tried to get names of CIs in the past, and rather than give me the name of the CI, the prosecution will back off let the case go, because either that person is far more valuable to them than my little case, my client's little case, or the cynic in me says there really wasn't a CI necessarily. The warrant, I'm sure the officer believed the stuff was there when he filed for the warrant, and it's just easy to say, and somebody saw it.
And the officers have to do their due diligence to get these search warrants too. And for me, if I was put in the position of you go serve a search warrant on this guy's house who's got 3 little kids, I'm not going to do it. I mean, at the very most, I'll knock on the door and say, sir, we have our records that show you have a weapon that's supposed to be registered. Can we come in? We have a search warrant, and we need to see if we can get that weapon from you.
How much force do you think that they would use if they were, in theory, going to enforce this and go to these homes? Say it's one of the non-250 officers that that's not going to opt out of this. What type of scenario do you think? I mean, are they going to come in guns a-blazing, banging down the door?
That's the problem we have, because there have been instances in the past, and regardless of what the end result story was of why the ATF went to the Branch Davidian compound, it's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the original warrant allegedly said there were hand grenade parts. They went with 55 people in fully automatic firearms.
Well, another thing too, that fireman he said, I will not comply. On one of the police one blogs that one of the cops wrote back, he said, I can't wait to kick your door in.
Right, and
I mean,
that officer's actually in protective custody now. So I read that he started getting threats, so they took him off the street.
Right.
I mean,
But
they've
I mean-
got some
And rightfully so.
radical
That guy's
cops
got
and
no
some
business.
radical gun owners
Yeah.
on both sides of this that are getting it where normal people can't talk. And you're going to get one of those guys out determined to kick a door in, and the guy on the other side is going to be one of these, you're to pry my rifle off my cold dead hands.
And that's what it's
then
going to
here it
take. One
goes,
incident
you know.
like that, and then it's going to snowball, and then I can see bad things coming.
To quickly answer your question, here's my concern. It's an election year. And if a politician thinks going out and kicking a few doors, select doors, will be good for their campaign, they'll find a way to make it happen. There's somebody in law enforcement willing to get that warrant, and there's somebody willing to say to the other guys, you go and do this. And I hope that doesn't happen, but that's my guess. That's the way it'll happen. They'll pick one or two and try to make test cases.
And you know, there's so many concerns with this. They've made this a felony. So when you apply for a search warrant based on a felony, tactically, you're going in a completely different scenario than if you're going in on a misdemeanor warrant. You know, if the cops are prepared to serve a felony search warrant, you know, you better have some guys that know how to tone down their SWAT dynamic entries, because you're going into somebody's home who hasn't committed a violent crime, but it's still a felony.
He hasn't committed a crime overtook him. Yeah. He was legal, and then the legislature made him a felon. And that's the problem. This is not a guy who went on and tried to do something wrong. We're going to break for some capitalism here. Don't go away.
Well, he was just following the Joe Biden defense. Out the back window with the double-barrel shotgun.
Hey, we are back here on Fired Up. In Bakersfield, California, just recently, a resident there, I should say elderly, a guy my age, saw what appeared to be a burglary across the street, an unoccupied house. He knew his neighbor was gone for the day. And as he was watching, two fellas backed up their pickup truck into the driveway and went into the house and took a big screen TV and drove away.
Yeah, he actually called the police to report the incident, but before the police had arrived, the bad guys had come back to presumably get another load in and fill up their pickup truck again. So he actually left his house, he came out, he yelled to the robbers and told them to knock it off, but they ignored him. Weirdly, they didn't listen to him, his polite cries.
No respect for old people.
There you go.
I
Older
respect
abuse.
you.
So this poor guy, I mean, he's not getting any respect, so he decides he's going to pull his weapon and fires warning shots. Hopefully he fired him up in the air, or, you know,
That's the
who
story.
knows? You know, that's kind of a crazy thing anyway, but, you know, the bad guys either weren't armed or they decided not to shoot back. Now, of course, when you're witnessing a property crime, there's not a state in America that allows you to fire or use deadly force when you're protecting somebody else's property.
Even if it's a really nice TV.
Even if it's an awesome TV.
Yeah. Well, he said there were warning shots, but of course, everything that goes up comes down.
That's right.
And usually comes down with a terminal velocity, and somebody could possibly get hurt. The only upside to it is that they drove away and nobody got killed. But the poor guy, you know, obviously, you know, Phil said you can't shoot for property crime. They're stealing your TV, you wave goodbye. But
own it, right?
yeah, and it's not even his TV besides. But
And that's the real problem here. And fortunately, some other neighbors were out and saw the incident and got the license plate number. Hopefully, we presume law enforcement was able to then find them. We don't really know what happened, but with any luck, they managed to find these individuals and bring them to justice.
Yeah, the unit was on the way because of the previous call, and they got the license number right there. And it wasn't in the story, but I'll presume they caught the guys that took the stuff. But none of us here are trying to make anything but a hero out of this neighbor who fired his gun in the air. That's a brave thing to do. Walk out of your house. There's bad guys there. Pull your gun.
A lot of people, it's easier to look away and pretend like it never happened.
well, he was just following the Joe Biden defense. Out the back window with the double-barrel shotgun, and they'll take off. So, I mean, there's a good defense that the guy could run
Just
right there.
before we were going to tape this, Joe Biden went to Poland. I saw it in the paper to talk to the Russians. You think he took his double barrel?
I don't know.
If we see the Russian army suddenly withdraws, Oh, that's off subject.
Well, and I think the big idea here is be a good witness. Don't take the law into your own hands, because that's why you called the cops in the first place. If it's taken the cops a little bit longer to get there than you're comfortable with, then just be a better witness. And shooting your weapon up into the air or into the ground as a warning shot, it's not the thing to do in this case.
Unless there is a need to shoot to protect human life.
True. Absolutely.
You
true.
should. We learned this. First day radio show asking about warning shots. I remember. Unless you're trying to protect human life, you do not shoot at somebody. If you can safely stay out of the situation, he did not need to fire the warning shot.
Well, and even if it is to defend human life, warning shots indicate you didn't really fear for your safety, because I thought just the loud noise and the threat would be enough. So then if you do wind up having to shoot the person, or if you shoot and something else goes wrong and you say, well, it was in self-defense, but I didn't feel badly enough I needed to hit him, it's assault with a deadly weapon, or it's attempted murder. The simple answer, Tony's absolutely right. Every shot hits something, we just don't know what, and whatever it is you bought. Now, this was Bakersfield, California, so obviously not LA, not San Francisco, but it's certainly not Texas, where we've seen these kinds of things where nothing bad came from it. I'm kind of amazed they didn't charge this guy with something, discharging a firearm or something, and maybe it was simply because it's rural enough and he's a good enough guy and the cops or the DA there understood what happened.
There's another point I want to bring up too to listeners that see this type of story. One of the things that the bad guys will occasionally do, if you fire a warning shot, they're not looking to see where you had the gun pointed, and they will assume from the sound that you're shooting at them, and they will shoot back. And there would have been no return fire that could hurt you if you hadn't fired your gun. We encourage people to use verbal warnings rather than gunshots, because gunshots mean different things to different people. If I'm standing out on the sidewalk and I hear bang, bang, look around and see a guy holding a gun, I'm liable to assume he's shooting at me, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there is a built-in defense, because this crook could say, hey, I just went over there to steal something. I'm not going to kill anybody. Now this guy decided he's going to shoot at me. I have to defend myself. He returns fire and hits the guy. That's a legitimate defense.
The other side of that is, and we presume he knows his neighbors, what if the neighbors had called somebody up and said, hey, the fumigator's coming over, would you go over to my house and get my stuff out of there? Now he's picking a gunfight with somebody he doesn't know, it's not his stuff. Finally, what if that patrol unit had just been coming around the corner the moment he touched off around? Now the officer's going to shoot the guy. I remember years ago, my partner and I were driving up a road, and we saw a guy tackle another person. They had a little fight on the sidewalk right there. So we're driving, headed up as fast as we can to get up there and get involved, figure out what's going on. They managed to stand up and start running away from us, so we followed them. Well, what had happened was a totally different guy had walked up to a guy at an ATM and snatched the money out of his hand and run. The second guy who got tackled was following him talking on the phone. The third guy had been standing in the parking lot, and the guy who lost the money said, that guy stole my money, and he didn't see the first guy, so he chased down the second guy and tackled him. So, I mean, you don't know when you're getting involved what you're getting involved with.
Yeah, especially when the cops are rolling up on a hot scene like that. Before they have a chance to assess what's really going on, they have to react to what they see. And that's all they can do is react to what they see. I mean, they don't even have a chance to get those facts fed to them by the witnesses. So if they see somebody running with a gun, it could very easily be a good guy. They don't know that until sometimes it's too late.
Exactly right.
And when the police arrive, no matter what part of the argument you're involved in,
Stop, put
show
your
them
hands
your
up.
hands, And it's this kind of thing happens all the time. We talk about it all the time in self-defense when we're talking about defense of third parties. And the first thing we always tell everybody is you don't know how the players got there. And you jump into what you see as a shooting situation, and it turns out it's not, because it's two brothers playing with each other that fight all the time, or the guy dressed like a biker is actually the undercover narc, and the guy in the three-piece suit is the undercover cop. So you see a violent fight and you shoot the wrong guy. If you're not involved and you feel you need to intervene with verbal warnings, not bullets. If there's a bad guy there, you'll know it pretty soon because he'll jump up and run like hell, and the cop that's there or the victim will stay there. You know, they give themselves away by their actions. But it's pretty easy to tell if you have opportunity to intervene with some type of verbal command. If nobody's being killed, be a good witness, call the police, keep track, take a picture with your cell phone, we all have now, so they can see who's who. Really helps in court.
And it's just like Emily said, unless you are in immediate danger of losing your life or someone else's, there's no reason for you to try and take somebody else's life unless, you know, somebody else's life is in danger or your life is in danger.
And that still, it's intervening in the third party thing is so dangerous. When the police do it, they're doing it because they're required to. So they back up under what we talked about before with qualified immunity. You're not. You don't have qualified immunity because nothing in the law requires you to help.
That's right.
So you are hanging out if you're wrong. You think of all the domestics that, you know, you throw the husband to the ground and then the wife attacks you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If that happens, you're fine. If that happens to a civilian intervening in that, he's got no protection at all because he shouldn't have intervened, right? It's, the rules are different. Don't do what the cops do. It's different than what you would do. We're going to break here for some commercials and things. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
It's the Czechoslovakian-made Scorpion.
We are back. With me is Mitch, who runs the Rocky Mountain Gun Shows. We're his guests here filming some of the displays. I'm just, this is an amazing show. It's
Thank you. Thank
in the
you.
middle of this wonderful hotel. It's gorgeous and it's it's just terrific. How long have you been doing these in Las Vegas? Long time.
You know, this is actually our 4-year anniversary. This month is our 4-year anniversary for the Rocky Mountain Gun Show. And we've been doing them here at South Point the whole time. The South Point Casino's been wonderful to us. It's a great facility. So we're real happy to be here. We get a great turnout.
Yeah, I can see that. And this is the second day and the place is packed.
Yeah,
It's,
yes.
the vendors seem to be
We've
happy.
got awesome vendor support, a lot of big vendors that follow us around. We do our best to keep them happy, and you know, we kind of pride ourselves on the advertising we do for our show. We do a ton of advertising from billboards to radio, TV.
Well, you're about to have some more, apparently.
Yeah, and you know, just we really try to do a lot of advertising to, you know, to bring the people in for our vendors.
Well, it's just part of the gun industry. It's so nice to have this here because it creates a lot of interest in firearms, and the more
Sure.
publicity we all have, the better
Sure.
off we do.
We also offer a CCW class here, so and that's a nice for the public, you know, to come in, and I think everybody should have their concealed weapons permit.
I couldn't agree more. You even have the ATF here.
Yep, the
answering
ATF
questions
is,
for people.
you know what, they've been very supportive of us. They compliment us on a show well run. They compliment us on being strict with our rules. You know, we try to follow the letter of the law as best we can and make everybody happy, do what we're supposed to do. And
Well, I appreciate
everybody
your,
can have
your
the
putting the show on, and I appreciate you letting us in to film it as part of our show.
absolutely, we love. Thanks for
And,
coming.
It's well, it's good for everybody. Anyway,
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. Thank
All righty.
you very much.
Thank
Mitch.
you.
Appreciate it. We are back here on Fired Up. Mr. Giles, my attorney, and I are here at the Rocky Mountain Gun Show in Las Vegas at the South Point Hotel Casino. And viewers will recall we did a lot of work on our show on the Starbucks debacle that they do or don't want gun owners in their stores. These t-shirts are the result of part of that. And I guess they're letting gun owners back in Starbucks if they don't flaunt it or something. They really don't want them all out, but they don't want them in, sort of, and they've changed. Anyway, these shirts are still extremely popular in our store. How are sales going here?
Very good. It's kind of the anti-Starbucks. But what people don't realize that this is a public domain symbol. This is the siren off of the 1932, Moby Dick story. And we just added 245s to our repertoire.
I figured it had to be out of copyright or Starbucks would have come after everybody.
Right,
immediately.
and some of my best customers are the ladies at Starbucks.
Oh,
And
sure.
they like our stickers on the back of the Volkswagens and the Toyotas.
So, are sales good?
Very good.
People like this?
They're excellent.
I see them all over the place. So.
And right now, for this month and next month, we're also having several 2-for-1 packages. T-shirts, hoodies, tank tops.
Do you have a website where people can
Yes,
get a
we
hold
do.
of you? They can get a price list and over?
Gunscoffee.com.
Probably better.
Gunscoffee.com.
Gunscoffee1word.com.
Right, it'll take you right to my website.
Well, we got 3 or 4 people listening to the show, and hopefully they will do
Hopefully
that.
those 3 or 4 people will hook right up.
Alex, we get a copy of the pink shirt too, because that one seems to me to be the most attractive shirt.
And we also have the ultimate carried concealed gun, the bra holster.
We do.
Yes. And it's right here on display. Would you care to see the display?
We're on cable. It's okay.
Show them.
I'm famous, baby.
And here it is. This is the Taurus TCP 380.
Outstanding.
We fit
you just,
20 different
You
sizes.
just made the headline on Fired Up.
There you go, babe.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for appearing on it. I hope we'll get your website on the crawl on the show so they can see it.
All right.
And I appreciate you being here. Appreciate
Thanks
what
for coming
you're
to see
doing.
us.
This is a good
Appreciate
thing.
it. Thanks, Bob.
Hey, we are back here on Fired Up. We're at the Rocky Mountain Gun Show at the South Point Casino here in Las Vegas. And we have a young lady here selling all sorts of non-lethal stuff. We've talked about it on the show many times that having a non-lethal product is a really good idea, even if you're carrying a gun. And a lot of people that don't want to hurt anybody, seriously, need this kind of material. She's got batons and stun guns and pepper sprays, and I'd like to let her talk a little bit about what you do and how sales are.
Thank you. Hello folks, I'm Maggie with Cub Protect, and we have non-lethal personal protection items. We range from pepper sprays, pepper gels, to stun guns and batons. The stun guns are really great. All of our stun guns are over 2 million volts. They will go through clothing, put the assailant on the ground for about 5 minutes, which gives you time to get away. They're all rechargeable, come with a lifetime warranty. Our pepper sprays, we have pepper spray, we have pepper gel. They will put an assailant on the ground for about 30 to 45 minutes, which gives you time to get away. Call the police if you feel like it. They're great products. And like I said, all our stun guns come with a lifetime warranty and are fully rechargeable. This little beauty is 10 million volts, plugs into your outlet at home. They're really great.
That's cute. She also, I just noticed, has on her table a little chart of where stun guns and tasers are restricted or not, and the whole left side of the country where we're broadcasting, it is their legal products. So you have a website, people can find you?
We sure do. Your safetyware, WARE.com.
That's great information. I appreciate that, and everybody should be carrying these devices. As I said earlier, even if you have a gun, there are people that you want to just get away from you that aren't really shooting targets. So you need to have some less than lethal option. We're still at the Rocky Mountain Gun Show here at the South Point Casino in Las Vegas, and we have a display here from the Oath Keepers organization, something I'm very much in favor of. And I'm here with Dan, who's going to give a little background on what the Oath Keepers is and what you do and how to join.
Right. Well, Oath Keepers is primarily a educational organization, and what we are is active and retired military, law enforcement, firefighters, basically anybody that's taken an oath. And what we're trying to do is teach the active people about constitutional law. So if they're given unconstitutional orders, they'll be able to stand down from those particular orders. Because what we're hoping is that they get educated enough to be able to tell the difference between a constitutional order and non-constitutional. And we're a non-political organization. We don't go for either parties or like that. So.
Well, that's great. And you have all sorts of literature and things?
Yeah, we sell T-shirts, and for a small donation, we give away a Constitution. And we have stickers for vehicles and all. And here's our brochure that we pass out for free to people. You may have one yourself if you want.
And they can reach you at the website here to join?
That's correct.
Oathkeepers.org.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have different books that we sell also about the Constitution. This is a book that compares the original Constitution with the Constitution we have now, which is
to our current one.
Yes, exactly. There's big difference. So if you get a chance to read this, read this. And basically, we have our donation jar, which I'm sure Bob is going to. No, I'm just kidding. That's pretty much it.
I've got to tell you some history of the Oath Keepers that you don't know about.
Oh, really?
Yes, Stuart Rhodes.
I bet you I do. He shot his eye out in your place.
Actually, it was outside my place, but Stuart worked for me at the time that he lost his eye, and worked for me for quite a while, back before he was the famous Stuart Rhodes.
Yeah.
Just
for the camera, Stuart Rhodes is the founder of Oath Keepers.
He's the founder of it and worked for me years and years ago before this all started.
Right.
Fine young man, very bright guy, very bright lawyer.
Right.
I would encourage anybody, if you're a vet or a cop or retired from there, that you get a hold of these people at their website. It's a good organization, helps everything conservative causes and constitutional causes.
I might add to that, we're a national organization, but we are a local chapter here. So if you want to get involved with the local chapter, we have meetings on the second Thursday of every month. And if you visit meetup.com and search for Las Vegas Oath Keepers, it has all our rallies in there and our meeting times and dates and location.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
appreciate
sir.
you doing the interview. We'll be right back after a couple messages. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Tony D with the Gun Store here in Las Vegas. Thanks for watching Fired Up with Bob. Tonight we're going to be talking about a very special little gun. It's the Czechoslovakian-made Scorpion. The official designation is the VZ-61. This was one of the first what they call personal defense weapons ever developed. It's a small, compact submachine gun. They call it a submachine pistol, and it opens up with a folding stock, and it could be fired with the stock or just as a pistol. It was adopted for the Czechoslovakian Special Forces, and it went into their military, their army guys. Also, it was used by their security forces, and it was also used by a lot of people who couldn't carry a rifle conveniently. A lot of artillerymen, a lot of officers, a lot of clerks. It's a very, very compact little gun, and it shoots very, very quickly. It fires from a closed bolt. In other words, the round is chambered like a standard gun, and it is hammer fired. However, there is a rate reducer built into the pistol grip inside. With a gun being this small, the rate of fire in full automatic would be tremendous. It would be over 1,000 rounds a minute. They built this rate reducer in here to slow it down. Right? So this gun will fire still pretty quickly, about 850 rounds a minute, but it is much more controllable with the rate reducer in it. The controls on this side here are single shot, safety, and 20-shot automatic, full auto. The magazine releases here, and as I said, there's the cocking levers there. It's a very, very little fun gun to shoot, and it was used in a lot of the video games. Call of Duty comes to mind. It's very, very popular in that one there. It was used in a lot of movies. Used in the Matrix, Ronin, Blade 2, several movies. It was also thought as more of a terrorist weapon also because it was small and compact and a lot of the evil people had it. I know it was on NCIS, on television also. So it's a very popular little gun. We're one of the few places around that has one, and they're a lot of fun to shoot. All right, we're going to load it, going to insert the magazine. All right, chamber around, and we're ready to go. As you can see, 20 rounds doesn't last too long with it. It's a very, very fun gun to shoot. It's very controllable, and for a real personal defense weapon, it sure does the job.
I'm Mike Rogers. Welcome to this segment of Moron of the Week. Enjoy.
La mea volar, hermano, no sé cómo se pone esta agua. La mea fase, conche tu madre. Más nerviosa en esta wea. Pistola culia. La mea, conche tu madre. Concha la lara. La mea pula. Esta wea con estas falas culias tiene. Concha tu madre. Ya esta agua como concha tu madre se pone, hermano. A ver, vamos a ver. Está cargada esta huevo. ¿Qué pasa si tiro para arriba? Pero no me da cualquier miedo, aparte que entro a la casa ni cagando. Yo la dejé cargar esta agua. Lo tiré, hermano, lo tiré. Conchetumare. Esta agua. Ándate a la misma, conchetumare. Dejé esa bala, conche tu madre. Hermano, la tiré, conche tu madre. ¿Dónde dejé la bala? Julián, lo tiré, el balazo, Julián, lo tuve. Conche.
A 12-year-old with his own handgun. Life is good. I wonder where he learned those gun handling traits from. Probably his dad. Perhaps it would have been a better idea if that gun had been locked up and he wasn't left home alone with it.
There are many ways to protect your personal firearms collection, whether it be one firearm or hundreds. Most homeowners insurance policies will protect some amount of firearms loss, but they generally won't replace full value, and they have fairly limited value, total value options. You might want to purchase additional insurance. You can do so through the National Rifle Association or any number of private insurance companies. You can also contact your homeowner's insurance policy and ask what it would take to increase the coverage for your personal firearms in the event that they're lost in a fire or flood or stolen. There are other insurance options that will help you recover firearms or the value of your firearms outside of those descriptions. For example, there are some insurance policies that will replace firearms if they're seized from you as the result of an investigation, perhaps in the event of a lethal force incident where the law enforcement has taken your firearm as evidence. You should look into these various insurance options. You can talk to your insurance agent, call the NRA, or go online and search for firearms insurance options. It's sad to say, a pun, but it's cheap insurance in order to replace valuable items that otherwise you won't get back or get their value.
And we are back again on Fired Up. This story is kind of a miniaturization of Pennsylvania, but it's a little closer to home for us in Las Vegas here. This is Sunnyvale, California. They've enacted a ban on firearms magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. Now, I know everybody out there knows that magazines that hold more than 10 rounds are already illegal in California from their assault weapon ban 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it was 20 years ago now. But what California did, so they wouldn't have to go through the Connecticut thing of going and trying and picking up all these magazines, they grandfathered the existing magazines and assault weapons, which they had banned also, so people could still have those. So the people that have grandfathered, they have older magazines they'd owned for the last 20 years. Sunnyvale, as a city, has decided that any magazine over 10 rounds cannot be owned by anybody, possessed by anybody inside the city limits of Sunnyvale. So we have kind of a miniature version. Now, these people aren't felons. They're all just subject to misdemeanor, 6 months in jail, or $1,000 fine, because they have a magazine in Sunnyvale city limits they didn't turn into the police department.
So even the ones that were grandfathered in, because I know they banned the new full-size magazines years ago, but now the ones that were grandfathered in, those are now considered illegal?
Yeah, the ones that were grandfathered are now illegal too in Sunnyvale.
That's exactly right.
And about to be in San Francisco.
Yeah, and the politicians actually told the people that they could keep the ones they have. But this is unconscionable to think that the politicians actually lied. They lied to the people. Now only cops and criminals could have the 10-rounder. They lied. I find it can't be. It can't happen.
This was the result of a voters' referendum in the city. It wasn't something the city council just did. But after it was passed and started going into place, the NRA and California gun rights organizations fought this in the courts, quite literally, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they lost. Now, at the Supreme Court, just so the viewers know, there's two ways to get to the Supreme Court, and what they did is they tried to get the regional justice, who is Justice Kennedy, to step in and assist them in putting a moratorium on it until they could fully legally brief the case, and he didn't do that. So it allowed the ban to go forward, and now the choices are dispose of the items or be subject to misdemeanor penalties.
And, you know, I'm a little incredulous on this one because is this supposed to make Sunnyvale safer?
Of course.
Where your citizens are less able to protect themselves? I mean, I
Well,
don't
no,
ever remember
you're
a case.
assuming, I know you've been a policeman all these years, and you're assuming that the bad guys won't comply, but I think that's unfair.
Well,
I mean, there are bad guys out there who are going to see this statute and go, oh my God, I don't want to get in trouble.
I have a great idea. If they make that illegal, then they should make heroin and cocaine illegal too.
No.
Exactly.
The district court judge who ruled on this at the state level is, I believe, Judge Ron White ruled on this. No relation to the comedian, I think. And in his opinion, he actually held that he was unaware of any situations where a self-defense use needed more than 10 rounds anyway. So 10 rounds was an efficient number. I'm hoping that that was taken from an amicus brief or somebody else actually said it and the judge didn't say that, because it wouldn't take long on Google. You know, you don't have to have really great Google foo to find a couple of gunfights that took more than 10 rounds.
We have home invasions and whatnot that we talk about in this show all the time, where you have 4, 5, 6, 7 people crash into your house, or 4 crash in and 3 blocking the back door and so on.
All of them armed.
And all of them armed, and you've got 10 shots. This is absolutely ridiculous to tell defensive, honest citizens that they can't have more than 10 shots. And you get the argument that, well, they could have 2 10-shot magazines. That was said by somebody who's never tried to change magazines while bullets were flying. Exactly. You need to have them all in the gun. If you could fit 200 in there, that would be fine in real life. Nobody sits there and calmly changes magazines, even if they're experienced at this.
So
What you
Better to
don't
have
need-
it and not need it than need it and not have
There
it.
you go.
Exactly.
No cop I know has ever said, gee, I'm glad I only carried X number of rounds today.
And picture
It's
the
too heavy.
scenario. Picture the scenario. You have a home invasion and you're protecting your family. You run out of bullets, so you go get your 18-round magazine, your 20-round magazine, and you're defending yourself. And you successfully defend yourself, and then the cops come out and say, "Oh, hold on, buddy, you had a 18-round magazine, and you're in a heap of trouble, boy."
Actually could
crazy.
happen, although
But that cop moved here from Alabama, obviously. Yeah,
something
okay.
like that, yeah. Although it's actually back in New York, one of the cases back there where they counted the rounds, a judge has ruled that they needed a search warrant to count the rounds in the magazine. So hopefully they get the same judge in Sunnyvale when they start going through and counting magazine rounds. Probably
Well,
not, though, unfortunately.
You don't need 10 bullets to kill a deer.
Yeah, because the Second Amendment was written all about hunting.
There you go.
It's just so weird to me to think that that's such a strange thing to regulate. It's like, we're going to let you have guns, we're going to let you have these types of guns and these magazines, but we're going to tell you exactly how many bullets you can
And I'll
have.
tell you
What a
why the-
strange way to draw the line.
I'll tell you why they're doing it. It's incrementalism. And here's what's going on. We have McDonald and we have Heller, which the viewers, I'm sure, are very familiar with. These are the two federal cases that have now said the Second Amendment is an individual right, and it applies to the individuals of states through the 14th Amendment. But what Heller did was it left some open ground. Part of that open ground is certain aspects of firearms can be regulated so long as they don't deny an entire right. Now, we had this a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the CCW issue in California because they banned concealed carry effectively in most counties and open carry. The judge found that they had violated the Second Amendment by taking away an entire right. So the people who want to ban guns, and I'm sure the people who voted for this really would like to get rid of the guns too, honestly. But they were told, you can't do that, but you can limit the number of rounds they carry. Okay, let's do that. And then the next time we do a referendum, we'll move it down to 5. And then the next time we do it, we'll move it down to 1 or whatever. They're incrementally trying to figure out just how far Heller and McDonald go.
And, well, New York went to 7, and so on and so on. There was a note here in the press release I got from the police department on this that said a week and a half after this ban had become effective, and it was all in all the papers and whatnot in Sunnyvale. It was a big deal. The Sunnyvale police reported that no one had showed up at the Department of Public Safety to turn in any magazines. Not even one person.
Well, and I think that when they go out and they ask anybody about it, they're going to get the same answer some people gave to the media, which is, well, when I saw it coming down the pike and I knew it was a done deal, I simply loaded up my 10-plus round magazines that I still had, and I moved them out of the city limits. You could get a storage unit 2 feet outside of Sunnyvale and still be legal, because this is a city municipal code.
City code. So that's why it's only a misdemeanor.
That's right.
So then you're in a shootout, timeout. Let me run over
to
here
your
and get my
storage unit,
magazine. Come back. Okay, all right, let's get back. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
Let's do it
it's
again.
not quite as slow as leaving your spare clips in the car, but it's, it works. This kind of stuff, and Mike's absolutely right, this is just incremental to get rid of the guns. We're going to get 7 shots and we're going to get 5 shots, and et cetera, et cetera. None of this will disarm any criminals, and I can't imagine a criminal having an 11-shot magazine when he does a robbery in Sunnyvale, and they're going to add another 6 months because he had the wrong magazine. They're going to drop that in a heartbeat, because I don't even think you get a conviction against a criminal having too many rounds. It's just...
What you're doing is you're taking the citizen, the law-abiding citizens, you're taking their right away to defend themselves,
And they're always, the first one that's there when you're in trouble is you. So you need lots of bullets. Yeah. Policeman coming later, fine. The guy who's there at the time is the one that needs to be able to do this. If this comes up in your city, don't let him get away with it. You're going to get disarmed until the criminals just take over. If this continues where it is, this is
and in
ongoing.
essence, you're making the citizens bring a knife to a gunfight.
They're working on those too. We got blade restrictions, foldings, and yeah, etc. Thanks for tuning in to Fired Up. That does it for today. We will be back next week, same time, same station. Please look us up one more time. Thanks for watching.